Good morning, students. Today we are going to study about skin and the integumentary system. Skin, along with its derivatives, is called as integumentary system. The derivatives of the skin are hair, nails, glands like mammary glands, sebaceous glands, sweat glands, etc. So let's see first what are the functions of the skin. Right now, skin is the largest organ of the body that covers the entire surface of our body, and it is an uninterrupted layer, and it has several functions. You can see the long list of functions of the skin that is printed here. It provides protection against what? Against mechanical damage, bacterial invasion of germs, and loss of water by evaporation or dehydration due to the presence of a horny protein called keratin. It also provides protection against the ill effect of ultraviolet rays due to the presence of the pigment melanin. It also provides uh, the proper temperature to the body by regulating heat. So, skin regulates the body heat temperature at about 37 degrees centigrade, and it prevents loss of heat in cold weather by vasoconstriction and facilitates loss of heat in hot weather by vasodilation of the capillaries, which is stimulated by hypothalamus located in the floor of the brain. It is a part of the brain which is the hypothalamus working as a thermostat. Then skin also serves when secretory substances are secreted, so it helps in secretion. It secretes sweat from sweat glands that regulate the body temperature. Body temperature is the primary function, but along with sweat, some uh, metabolic wastes, excess amount of water is also released. The oil secretion from the sebaceous glands that keeps the skin oily. So sebum is secreted from the sebaceous gland that keeps the skin soft and supple. There are also glands like mammary glands that secretes milk after childbirth, ceruminous glands that secrete cerumen or earwax, meibomian glands that secrete oil to lubricate the margins of the leaf. So these are the different glands that are present in the skin that secrete certain substances that are useful. It also assists in excretion. So the process of excretion or removal of nitrogenous waste is through sweating, like I told you, eliminating excess salts, water, and some amount of urea and uric acid. And it also removes dust and germ particles with the help of cerumen by the secretion from the ceruminous glands. Then skin serves as a major sensory organ because the nerve endings and sensory corpuscles are present in the skin that are sensitive to the reception of stimuli, temperature, touch, pain, and pressure. There are also ridges and grooves on your fingers. You may feel those ridges and grooves on your fingers and palms that provide more efficient grip. That is, you can consider it as another function. It also absorbs oil, moisturizer that are applied on the skin, the medicinal creams, etc. So it helps in absorption of these substances. And also the skin can synthesize vitamin D and store the okay, that is when the skin is exposed to the rays of the sun. It also stores food and provides insulation as of the uh, fat stored in the adipose tissue cells in the subcutaneous layer that can be utilized later. So it serves as a storage of food, and this store fat layer below the skin provides insulation against cold. So all these are the various functions of the skin. So now from this you can see that skin is a jack of all trades. So many functions are carried out, and but it is an efficient worker of these functions. Now we'll come to the structures of the skin. Now, depth-wise, the skin has two major layers, epidermis, dermis, and below the dermis is the subcutaneous layer, or that is your fat layer. So the epidermis or the outermost layer of the skin. This layer is made up of stratified epithelium. You already know about stratified or multi-layered layers. That means it consists of several layers of dead cells which are packed with keratin, but they lack blood vessels, nerve endings, right? You can see here, and as it is an uninterrupted layer, so it prevents the invasion of germs and mechanical damage, dehydration, and all these are carried out due to the presence of the horny protein keratin, which we saw in the previous slide. And depth wise, this layer has three different sublayers. Stratum corneum is the outermost layer, stratum granulosum is the middle layer, and stratum malpighi or malpighian layer, or it is also called as germinative layer, which is a single layer. As you can see, it is projecting into the dermis. Below is the dermis. Each layer we are now going to discuss individually. Now this is stratum corneum or the outermost layer of the epidermis. You can see the stratum corneum here. It consists of 25 to 30 rows of flat dead cells filled with the horny protein keratin. So keratin prevents invasion of germs and dehydration. It has the capacity to absorb water and prevent the germs to enter. So it is continuously, but this layer is continuously shed and worn out. So this stratum corneum is replaced continuously by the cells from the lower or the lower layers, because these are dead cells, and you must have experienced the loss of dead cells during winter. The middle layer is stratum granulosum. Middle layer is stratum granulosum, which is a very thin middle layer consisting of 2 to 3 rows of flattened cells. And these flattened cells are at various stages of disintegration, this middle layer, as you can see in this figure, because the nucleus is disintegrating. Now these cells will replace the dead cells of stratum cornea, which will be shed. So obviously these are dead cells, so they do not perform any vital functions. The cells are concerned with the formation of keratin. Its formation of keratin, and it replaces the cells of stratum cornea. The innermost layer is stratum malpighi. This is the innermost layer, which consists of a single layer of living columnar cells. The cells of this layer actively divide to produce new cells that cut cells in two directions. Outwardly, these cells, they replace the cornified layer cells. Outwardly, they move upwards and replace the cells of the cornified layers, stratum granulosum and then stratum corneum. But the inner layers that are cut inwardly, they migrate inwardly into the dermis. They migrate inwardly into the dermis and later give rise to the skin derivatives, which I told you earlier. The cells of this layer produce a pigment melanin. So these layers contain the pigment melanin, which imparts color to the skin and absorb harmful ultraviolet rays and thus protect the skin. The melanin is also present in the skin derivatives, the dead parts. Okay. Now next we will come to the dermis layer. Now this is the dermis, so the inner thick layer. You can see here on this figure, it consists of fibrous layer and the papillary layer, or these projection layers that project into the epidermis. So it is the thinner, inner thick layer of connective tissue made up of elastic fibers. This provides elasticity to the skin. But this layer is tough and flexible, and thin at places like eyelids. It's very thin at eyelids and thick on the palms and soles. This layer consists of blood vessels and nerve fibers. As you can see here, these are blood vessels, blood capillaries, and these are nervous capillaries. And these are fibrous tissues, which is called as your reticular region. So the dermis is divided into these two layers, papillary and reticular region. Papillary layer consists of loose connective tissue, like I said, with nipple-like surfaces or projections called dermal papillae. These are dermal papillae. Containing in each papilla you can find the capillaries or nerve corpuscles. Okay, and they form the dermal regions or the epidermal regions, and this results in the formation of your fingerprints, the ridges and grooves on your fingers. Then the inner layer is reticular region or reticular layer, which is dense and irregular, and it contains, as you can see here, collagen fibers and elastic fibers. So they offer strength and hold water. The dermal tearing causes stretch marks. When they are torn, they cause stretch marks. Now the innermost layer below the surface of the skin, I said, is subcutaneous layer, and this tissue directly remains underneath the dermis. We also call it as hypodermis. This layer of tissue is composed of fat cells, the stored fat or adipose tissue cells that contain fats and connective tissues. Now, its function is to include insulation. It provides insulation or prevents the radiation of heat, storage of energy, the fat cells, and aid in anchoring the skin to the underlying tissues. That is why when you pull your skin, it returns back when you release the pressure from the skin to its normal state. And it is the thickest layer of the integumentary layer. Now, next we will come to the skin derivatives. The first skin derivatives that we are going to talk about is the hair. It is a fine thread-like structure forming the exoskeleton of mammals. And this hair is continuously lost and regrown. It's helpful in forensic investigations, provide a sensation of touch, pain, provides protection in case of porcupines. In most of the animals also it provides warmth by trapping heat as an insulating layer of air, or it traps the body heat, which is forms an insulating layer of air. So that is, these are the functions of hair. Now we come to the parts of the hair. The parts of the hair consist of this hair shaft, which projects out of the skin. It is projecting out of the skin, remains out of the skin, so it is called as hair shaft, and it is keratinized and dead. But the part of the hair that is embedded in the dermis is called as hair root. Don't mention it as root hair. Root hair is plant structure, totally different. So hair root is the part of the hair which remains in the dermis, the entire part. Now this swollen end of the hair root is known as hair bulb, which is which is the lowest swollen part of the hair root, and it contains only the living tissues of the hair. The cells of the bulb divide rapidly and add growth to the hair. It also contains, it's projected inwardly to form hair papillae, as you can see here, hair papilla. And each hair papilla is supplied with blood capillaries that nourishes the growing cells of this hair bulb, okay, as it contains the living cells. Now these cells add length to the hair shaft. Understood? The growth continues from these hair papilla or hair bulb. Now the hair is lodged in this cavity or the bag-like structure, this bag-like structure which is called as hair follicle. It is made up of epithelial and connective tissue sheath in which the hair root remains embedded. Around the hair follicle, as you can see, are associated with it are the nerve corpuscles and the blood capillaries. Okay, so when a hair is pulled, you can feel the pain. Now, the hair is also attached with this arrector pili, which is mentioned. It is the arrector or erector muscles. It's a smooth muscle which runs obliquely between the hair follicle and the dermal papillae and the hair follicle. So it runs obliquely. Under certain conditions, when you feel scared or you feel cold, what happens? This muscle is contracted. When this muscle contracts, the hair shaft stands out. It becomes straight. When it stands out, it causes the skin to become wrinkled, which are called as goosebumps. Okay, it becomes vertical, and these depresses the epidermis, causing goosebumps. All right. Now, this is about the hair. Next, we come to sebaceous gland. Associated with the hair, you can see the hair follicle is opening sebaceous gland. This is a highly branched and lobulated gland that lies in the dermis. It either opens into the hair follicle or it may open directly onto the surface of the skin. And the secretion of the sebaceous gland is sebum, and it's a mixture of fats, cholesterol, protein, and inorganic substances. What is the function of the sebum? It keeps the skin soft, pliable, and waterproof. The next is the sweat gland. As you can see here, the sweat gland here. It's a highly tubular structure or a gland which has two regions or ends. This is a highly called a convoluted region which remains embedded in the dermis, that is the secretory part of the gland, which is located in the deeper part of the dermis, and it is associated with the blood capillaries. Now this part secretes 99% water, 2% to 5% of salts, and some urea and uric acid, which are eliminated. So the secretion of the sweat gland is called as sweat. So these are the compositions of sweat that I told you, which is secreted and it's excreted out through this pore that opens onto the surface of the skin, which is called as the excretory part of the sweat gland. So the sweat duct projects upwards through the dermis and epidermis and terminates on the skin surface as the sweat pore. Now this is about the sweat glands. Next we come to the nails of the another skin derivative, nails that are found in the fingers. Now this is also a skin derivative and it is actually a hardened keratinous plate-like structure which grows as dead cells from the hair root. From the nail root. It grows from the nail root which contains the living cells. But this the upper end is dead, so which you cut. So they are composed of mainly the plate, the cell nail plate, the nail bed, and the matrix. Okay, the plate is the hard, this is the outermost upper part, hard and outer part of the nail, which is made up of dead keratinized cells. Now the bed of the nail, the root bed, lies below the nail plate. It lies below the nail plate. This is the nail bed, as you can see, which lies close to the muscles or tissues, and the matrix lies below the skin surface at the base of the nail. This is the matrix which is covered with the skin, okay, which we call it as the cuticle, and it is usually as half bone. It is shown at the base of the nail. It produces new cells which on maturation uh, it is on maturation push out the older ones and towards the tip, and the nail grows. Okay, it causes the growth of the nail. Now these are about few derivatives of the skin and structure of the skin. Now we will come here. We'll see this animation. You see the skin, the hair, sebaceous gland, the sweat glands, the erector muscles, the blood capillaries are shown in this figure. Now see the animation, right? See, this, it covers the entire surface of the body. About 60% of the body weight is skin. Now, it occupies the entire area is 1.7 meters square, right? The diameter, it covers the entire body surface. Your skeleton performs various activities or functions, and we saw the several functions. Along with the skin and its derivatives, it forms the integumentary system. Hair, nails, sebaceous gland, nerve corpuscles, all these, the hair are found in the skin. It is divided into epidermis and dermis, and it is thin at the place and very thick on the soles. The three key functions is it regulates, provides protection, regulates body temperature, and serves as a sensory organ. So here it performs so many functions. So jack of so many trades. Now see how the skin is flexible. Okay, there are marker cells. This forms your ridges and grooves. So that helps in forensic investigation. Each person has a specific um, fingerprints, right? It helps in providing us with sensation. We perceive sensation. Water is lost or dehydration. The skin is lost the upper layers, so they are dead and worn out. So they are replaced by new cells from beneath. Okay. Now, this is tough and flexible because of the presence of the collagen fibers in the dermis. So, this is the epidermis and dermis cells. You see how the cells are keratinized and they're replaced every week. In 4 weeks, they're replaced by new cells from beneath. And each of these cells are keratinized or dead. The presence of this horny protein provides protection, prevents it from dehydration, invasion of germs. All right. Germs also cannot enter through these layers. Even if they enter, they're killed by the other cells, cells in the skin below the skin, so that the WBCs they remove this. The antibodies, that is how they protect the body against the invasion of germs, be it a pathogen, that is virus or bacteria. Hair distribution of hair on the skin is uneven, right? So they also trap the germs. The sebum secreted keeps the skin soft and supple, as you can see from the sebaceous glands. So it also protects our body, right, throughout day and night, okay, from the viruses and bacteria. The nerve impulse, the nerve cells present here, regulate the body temperatures. They work as a sensory cells. Here's the nerve impulses during winter and in summer with the hypothalamus, which I told you from the brain. So it stimulates the blood vessels to dilate. So more blood comes to the skin. So there is evaporation of water droplets or sweat. Now it is conserved during the, this is the 25% how the circulation of blood is carried out. Now what happens, the sweat glands also produce more sweat during heat. So more heat is radiated out. Alright, understood? So this is what happens during summer. Okay, there are 5 lakhs hair follicles. There are no hairs here. Okay, they're devoid of the soles and feet. The hair, the growth of hair is not uniform. It varies. Okay. Now, when you have this erector pilles, the contract. See how the hair stands out and it forms the wrinkles on the skin, which causes goosebumps. All right. When the temperature is cold. All right. So that is your various functions of the skin. See the constriction or vasoconstriction when the temperature is reduced. Now that explains about the skin and all its functions. Thank you, children. Have a nice day.